Welcome back to Chantal Marie's Public Service Announcements Observes. We were looking at an Alex is Shook video in which he introduced another YouTuber formerly known as LearningToBeFearless, now known as Alexandra Rodriguez. She has apparently revamped her brand, and he did mention some controversy and a particular video. We don't know this YouTuber, so we decided to have a peek at her profile and get to know her a bit more and talk about content and communication through content. So let's jump right in. So Alexandra Rodriguez joined YouTube in 2011, and at the time of our research, her channel boasted over 400,000 subscribers. So it's quite a successful channel. Just by perusing her video profile, we can see that she has commercialized lifestyle content, quite attractive lifestyle content. It includes plus size clothing, plus size issues, and there's also personal health content. Our understanding is that within the last 2 months or so, there's been some recent controversy about the health component of her brand. So let's look at the initial presentation of the video in question. So right off the bat, we can see that she's already working with what she wants to express in the video. We have this title where punctuation and grammar, the rules have been bent. We have everything in lowercase. The I has been removed, but we do have that full stop there, which is odd. But it does help her. It supports that idea of something spontaneous, something heartfelt, yet she's taking a stand. We do have it at 100,000 views when we took this snapshot. We do see that the comments have been turned off. It is not monetized as well. This is a very interesting move because many times when you want to give that idea of this is, sincere, this is not me trying to convince you to buy anything, you do remove that immediate financial association. But below that, we have the call to check out her merchandise. So even though those moves have been made, we are reminded that we are on a commercialized platform and in a commercialized channel.
So I know this video is super random.
This video is not particularly random or spontaneous at all. If we look at the history of her videos, a few videos before this one, she has one addressing her weight gain that's actually in the title. In this video that we are analyzing, she does talk about being aware of what people are saying about her, she's seen or she's heard. So it's something that she must have been thinking about for a while, and it's just been building up to this point. We have the process of editing and producing. So she's set up the scene, she's sat down, she's filmed, she's edited, she's uploaded, she's thought about that title. Do I put the I? Do I take the I off? Do I put the full stop? So it's very improbable that this was a random and much less spontaneous video.
And I haven't done one of these videos in a super long time where I just sit and have a conversation when something's on my mind. I'm currently babysitting my mom's dog.
The effect, I think, is quite interesting that she produces with how she is presenting on camera. We have that casually mussed hair, but not too mussed. We have the slight makeup. She's very close to the camera. She's sitting a bit lower. She's either on the floor, or she is on a low chair of some sort. So all of those things put together do give you an idea of a one-on-one, heart-to-heart talk, a very approachable girl next door. She has that dog in the background, and she references taking care of the dog, and that does add a value of love and care and goodness. Good people love animals. Good people treat animals well. So she started off on a strong foot in that regard.
Oh my gosh, you're so stinking cute. I love you. So when something is like really weighing heavy on my heart, you'll probably hear my husband playing Call of Duty. When something really weighs on my heart, like just being able to sit down and talk to you guys helps me cope with it so much.
So two things come to mind here. We do have that call to be friendly to her vulnerability. We're helping her cope. It's a pretty strong statement. It suggests struggle, emotional distress, and that we are in the position to be nice to her, to protect that vulnerability. And also, I do think about the fact that I don't think that this distress is, how can I put this well? For people who may be watching and have channels and are trying to sell a product, if you are genuinely emotionally struggling with the emotional impact of dealing with feedback, coping online with videos to your viewers is probably not a good strategy. It would be probably best to deal with it offline with your network of family, friends, and professionals.
And this has just been like weighing on me, and I don't like how with the internet, when there's like bad stuff, you're just not supposed to address it, and like I just can't take it anymore. I have been just seeing so many incredibly terrible like videos and channels talking about me in like the worst way, and it's painful. It's painful.
So here we do have her suggesting that she's somehow not supposed to address bad things, and again using many words to mask the more appropriate term, which would be criticism and criticism of her brand. But she will use words like negativity and bad stuff, almost like they're a cosmic evil or something like that. But the real issue is criticism about her brand. And so she does try to give the idea that somehow she's been indirectly muzzled and she can't take it anymore. She's got to rip it off and, have her say. In reality, she does have mechanisms at her disposal to ignore or filter what she sees or hears regarding comments and the work of other creators concerning her brand. I can understand completely having a reaction to strong criticism, even if it's relevant criticism, but she does have several tools at her disposal to manage what she sees and hears online. She is quite empowered, actually. She's not as weak as she would like to represent in this video.
And I just don't understand why anyone chooses to spend their time in such a negative way.
As I just said, we have the use of another word, negativity, to mask the more appropriate or precise term, which is criticism. And for all commercial brands, criticism, feedback is a normal phenomenon that all brands face. And she does establish an interesting dichotomy. Either you give her a lot of love or you're just giving her negativity. Customer, viewer, client feedback actually exists on a spectrum. So you can have someone that's quite enthusiastic, you can have someone who just likes you have someone who is completely neutral to you, you can have someone who has something to observe, there's room for improvement, and you can have someone who's quite rude, for example. So comments really do move through a spectrum. It's not this dichotomy again that she's trying to establish between good and evil, and it is a normal phenomenon that all commercial brands face. When she says that she doesn't understand, she's kind of elevating herself morally to this high ground. She's pure, she's innocent, she's baffled by this negativity, in other words, criticism. It's not that she's baffled, it's just that she doesn't like it.
And the world just needs so much more love. And it's baffling to me.
Needless to say, this is not actually about love, much less the world. It is very much her defending a personal issue. She feels personally slighted. But if her brand had included more portrayals of charity work or outreach activities, for example, the statement might be a bit more applicable, more believable, might make more sense. But we haven't seen any history of that, of consistent representation of charity on her channel, for example. If we are wrong, let us know. But since she doesn't have that, then this statement comes off as a bit melodramatic, and we're not sure how relevant it would be.
Like I'm a person, and I'm so incredibly thankful for the love I receive every day as well. Far more love, of course, but like the hate online, I have talked to so many of my other like influencer friends, and it's just been so bad this year.
So here we have her trying to convince us that she's a person, she's flesh and blood, she has feelings, when in reality, Alexandra Rodriguez is the individual and private person, but it's also her brand. If we were to think about the example of Gabrielle Coco Chanel, she was the founder and the namesake of her product, but she wasn't her product. There were two separate entities. There is the commercial Alexandra Rodriguez, who sells a version of her life online. It's packaged, it's marketed, she receives money for it, but it is not the actual representation of her life. If we think about the psychological phenomenon of human behavior when we're being watched, and the fact that watched behavior means changed behavior, we understand that once that camera is on, she is acting pro-socially, she's acting knowing that she's going to be viewed, and so it's not going to be as spontaneous as if she were not being watched. And so that version of her that she's selling online is what is receiving the criticism, and and that is probably where she should defend herself from, rather than trying to mix the two. And so we should try very hard to avoid confusing those things too. Also, there's the argument that many of my friends also think so. I think we've all used this at some point or another when we feel that maybe we have our back against the wall, we kind of need backup. So even though she's by herself in this video, she's calling in backup, so people know that she's not the only one that thinks this. She doesn't believe that she on her own has the authority to keep making her statement.
With quarantine and COVID, I feel like, I don't know if people have more time, I don't know, but it's like, my heart, like, trust me, I'm not like just a stone wall here. Like, I have a heart, I have feelings, I have a soul. I don't know if I'll keep this up. I don't know if I'm going to delete it. I just can't not say anything anymore. There has to be a stop to the negativity.
Listening to this, we substituted heart and feelings and soul with brand, and we substituted negativity with criticism, and we found it more appropriate and it was easier to understand what she's actually arguing.
My heart, like, my heart can't take it anymore. I just don't understand. And maybe it's my fault for being so vulnerable over the years, for sharing so much, and like,
Okay, so this rhetorical device was very interesting. It's one of the classics. The person starts off with, I guess it's my fault, and then you would expect them to follow up with something that society or people consider to be unacceptable or disagreeable, and then the person follows it up with something that's quite positive. So she says, I guess it's my fault that I was vulnerable, that I shared, and so in the brain of the other person, they're going to think, well, there's nothing really wrong with that, so why is she feeling guilty? So it's a very interesting trick to use. And later on, she will reveal her full hand when she says, no, I don't think that I'm wrong, which is what she's trying to get at with this device.
For always being open about like gaining weight and talking about it and losing weight and like working on my health. Like maybe I should have just never talked about it, but you know what? No, that's not me. My destiny, my journey, my purpose is to share my truth.
And here she was pretty heavy-handed with the destiny, the journey, the truth. Again, we have her trying to paint this picture of a good person being sort of blindsided by cosmic evil when that's not the true issue at hand. Again, we see her referring to her heart. We just substitute with brand. And when we look at her brand online, she's still quite a strong channel. She's got a strong following. This is just her not being able to handle perhaps the first considerable static that she's had in terms of negative feedback. She's just not being able to handle it very well. But her brand per se is not in crisis, and neither is her heart.
On the internet, when it's hard, AKA putting on 100 pounds over a few years of something really hard that I was going through emotionally. So yeah, I shared that. And like, I can't even talk about losing weight now, because then it just makes me like a diet promoter which I don't believe I am. I think I'm losing weight in a really healthy way. And I hate that people don't believe that I've lost almost 40 pounds. I hate that people don't believe it. I hate that people still criticize. I hate that people judge. I hate that people judge me for gaining the weight, and then people judge me and say that I'm not really losing it. Like, why would I lie? Why would I lie about it?
Of all the presentation up to this point, this is perhaps the portion we can most believe that Alexandra Rodriguez, the private individual, very much hates what is perhaps relevant criticism about Alexandra Rodriguez, the brand. She does paint a picture of coming from a place of vulnerability and very little power, being battered while defenseless, but she's quite empowered. Her channel is quite empowered. She has significant earnings from YouTube. She has equal access to opportunities and rewards on YouTube, and that power could perhaps have been used more preemptively. If you know that you are selling health and weight loss and you're gaining, you could have stepped in front of that much earlier and expressed to your viewers, for example, that your offline life was affecting your online representations, but that you were aware of it and you were taking care of it. In terms of doubts about what you are, in terms of diet culture, weight loss, body positivity, those things need to be worked out in her head for her brand offline and behind the scenes. So it's not necessarily something to bring up in this video, in our opinion, at all. This is a disclaimer. We didn't actually see the video through all the way to the end. It was really quite, perhaps too rich in devices. And so the portion that we have presented here took us to the limit of our viewer tolerance. But apparently there is an even more emotional display later on in the video. What is our overall impression? We think that it is quite an attractive channel. It's a very attractive lifestyle product. And in it, Alexandra does address a legitimate issue, which is the one of dealing with negative feedback regarding brand representation. And yes, we can agree that if one does not have a team to help buffer that impact, it can be quite a challenge. On the other hand, using a moralized private persona to defend brand issues, in our opinion, is a bit of a sticky move. Perhaps she could have taken the criticism and processed it behind the scenes to strengthen and adjust her brand. And in public, she could have saved that platform to simply acknowledge the viewer discontent and communicate that the feedback was important to her and it should be, and that she had taken it into consideration to guide future changes to her brand. We do wish Alexandra, the individual, the best of luck as she continues to learn how to manage her online brand. If you have enjoyed this video, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell.